Today we're looking at the tasks of the toddler in relationship to language and literacy. The objectives in this particular video is for you to understand phonology, which is the study of how words are put together, phonics, grammar, how the order in which the words are supposed to go together and the tenses and the way that they're put together, and semantics, which is word meaning. So today we're going to be talking about understanding characteristics of toddler language and understanding how adults can help toddler speech. So the major task in learning, first when we talk about, is phonology. Phonology is phonics. Phonics is the sound of words. In the English language, about 50% of our language is phonetically correct, and 50% of it doesn't follow the rules. So it's important when a child learns phonics. Phonics can help them sound out many words, but it can't help them sound out all of the words. So phonics is an important part of learning language and learning sounds, but it is not everything. Syntax is the system of rules governing the way that the words, the order of the words. So for example, a child might learn me go instead of go me. Eventually they'll learn I want to go, but they simplify it at first by using the simple form of the sentence me go. And a child learns from hearing that he doesn't say go me, he says me go. And that's syntax, learning the order of words. And the last is word meaning. And so a child learns that by being in context. When a child hears you talk about things, the child begins to see things and use their senses and understand the total package. This is what this word means because my mom is looking at the word and she's talking about the word and I'm touching what that word is. So they began to learn syntax, what words mean, and that sounds of words and the way that the words are said can have different meanings because tone can change the way a word means also. Then we learn about pragmatics, and pragmatics are the varying speech patterns for the social context. So the way that you say something, again, your tone and the way that you say something can change the meaning of something. So if I said, come here, I want to see you, the child might be anxious to come over and maybe sit on my lap. But if I said, come here, I want to see you, the child understands that's a tone that's not so kind and I'm probably in trouble. My mommy wants to see me because I'm in trouble. So phonology is the flow of language and it makes distinguishing sounds very difficult for toddlers at first. When we put all of our words together, it's not like learning a word by itself. So they may learn a word by themselves, like this is a table. So you might say table. But when you say this is a table, it puts more sounds in front of it. And so distinguishing those phonological sounds for a toddler is difficult. And so they may think that instead of table, the word would be a table instead of table. Phonemes are the very smallest unit of sound, and there are about 46 to 50 phonemes in the English language. And they include vowels and consonant sounds and blended sounds. And morphology is the study of morphemes, and morphemes is the smallest unit of meaning. And so you might know them by prefix and suffix. So parts of words that come at the beginning of a word and parts of words that come at the end of a word that change the meaning of a word. So sometimes a child will use a prefix or a suffix in an inappropriate way, but you get a meaning of a word. So instead of unlock, they might say no lock, or and they might substitute something for it, but you get what they are trying to say. So between the ages of 2 to 4, children develop a variety of morphemes, and there's a common sequence and appearance of morphemes. Now syntax is the rules and the order of words. So between 18 and 24 months, they begin to combine hollow phrases to form telegraphic speech. Remember, hollow phrases are one-word utterances, and telegraphic speech are more of them put together. So sequences within telegraphic speech have acceptable grammatical sequences. And a child unconsciously forms and revises the rules. So again, they might say no lock instead of unlock, and eventually they begin to learn that they have to say unlock. They almost completely master this early on, and it just comes from hearing correct grammar. So you can imagine if a child grows up in an environment in which they hear incorrect grammar, then they're going to learn incorrect grammar. So it's really important for them to have people using correct grammar around them so that they're not going to have to unlearn something and relearn something later on. Semantics, the study of meanings and the acquisition of vocabulary. Toddlers learn best, they learn language in an active way. So if they can be doing something with their senses while they're learning about language, and maybe you're washing dishes at the water table, little plastic dishes, and say, I'm washing dishes now, I'm washing the plate now, I'm going to put it over here to dry now. So they begin to hear all of the action words and the not only just what you're doing, but the name of the object, and begin to put that all together and put meaning together with that. Meanings of words are related to experiences for them. Now, the pragmatics is the study of how language is used within the context of the situation. So examples of pragmatic skills might be taking turns to talk, or the ability to stick to a topic, or noticing nonverbal cues. Those are all pragmatic skills. Vygotsky talks about egocentric speech, and so a child actually uses words in their head and they're talking to themselves and they're learning. Egocentric is centered on oneself. And so this type of speech for a child, talking to themselves and maybe talking to themselves out loud, is useful to a child in the way that they think. Their inner speech becomes internalized as part of their thought process. They might say, I'm going to the door now. Whereas in reality, an adult would just get up and go to the door because in their head they said, I need to go answer the door. The characteristics of toddler language is they have telegraphic speech. They omit many words, so they might say Mary, doll, meaning that's Mary's doll. Or they might have prosodic speech with use of voice modulation and word stress. I go, and they might say, I go, meaning that they're really emphasizing that they want to go. Music, we know, enhances speech. And so something about putting it on both sides of the brain, the language side and the affective side, the music side, builds a stronger connection for children. And often music is rhythmic and repeats itself. And so it's a way of a child memorizing words that are to a tune, and so they can memorize patterns and say the same words over and over again. And again, it's associated with the tune, so it helps them remember both. Using simple rhymes and rhythms with children helps them learn language. So you should be able to select different types of music, but it's great to introduce them to different types of ethnic and cultural diversity within their music. So symbolic play is when a child can pretend play, and play is a way to represent experiences, and it's a way for them to learn to communicate. So symbolic play is important to children. They use symbols to represent other objects. Again, they might use the block to represent the phone, or they might pick up a basket and say that's their pocketbook. So they use different things and interpret them in their own manner. Now, when you use books with toddlers, it's good to choose books that have predictable patterns, books that have rhyme and rhythm, books that have sensory input, so things that they can see and feel. You need books that are durable. Children are pretty rough on books. They oftentimes have sticky fingers and rip pages when they tear them, so it's good to have books that are quite durable, like board books. You need to have books that have limited vocabulary. You don't want lots and lots of words. Books with a simple plot and illustrations that match the text. Some ways to share books with children are select a time when the child is alert and curious, or establish a special time for reading. Create interest with your voice. Be responsive when the child points to something. Talk about what the child is pointing to. encourage attempts to name objects, turn pages, speak about what they see. And so literacy itself involves reading, which is picture reading for the toddler. It involves writing, which is scribble drawing for the toddler. It also involves listening, and it involves speaking.